The great hall of the Interstellar Academy of Warriors buzzed with motion. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved across the arena, their limbs twisting, bodies shifting, wings flaring. Each trainee wielded weapons crafted for their species, from energy whips that glowed with electric fire to blades that seemed to slice the air itself. At the center of it all stood Thryn, the instructor. His 4 eyes scanned the room, calculating every movement, every tactic. His 6 arms held training weapons that mirrored the motions of the trainees, his posture perfect, like a storm ready to strike. He was feared, respected, and known across the galaxy as one of the most skilled warriors alive. The comm panel at the edge of the arena clicked, and a voice crackled. "Incoming vessel, unknown origin, docking bay 5. All activity slowed. Even the aliens trained to ignore distraction felt a ripple of curiosity. Few visitors ever arrived at the academy without prior notice. Thryn's eyes narrowed. "Bring them here," he ordered. His voice was calm, but it carried authority that echoed through the hall. Moments later, a human figure stepped through the docking portal. She was slight compared to the towering aliens, her frame unarmored and unassuming. She moved with grace, but there was a confidence in her stride that immediately drew attention. Thryn's gaze sharpened. He had trained countless species, but humans were rare, and to see one step into the academy without fear, it was unusual. "Who are you?" he asked, his multiple arms folding across his chest. The question was simple, but in the academy, such simplicity often hid deeper meaning. The human paused, meeting his gaze without flinching. Her dark eyes seemed to hold stories older than anyone in the room could imagine. "My name is Kayla," she said softly. Thryn tilted his head. He expected more. A list of accomplishments, a record of training, perhaps a declaration of intent. Kayla gave none of that. Instead, she reached for a scabbard strapped to her back. The moment her hand touched the hilt, the hall seemed to grow still. With a smooth motion, she drew a blade unlike any other in the academy. It was sleek, elegant, yet powerful. What caught everyone's attention were the etchings along the blade's edge. Tiny, precise, glowing symbols spiraled down the metal, symbols no one had seen for centuries. The hall fell silent. Every trainee, every instructor, even the machines that monitored training, seemed to pause. Thryn stepped closer. "Where did you get that blade?" His voice was steady, but there was an edge of curiosity, maybe even caution. Kayla held it lightly, almost reverently. "It is from my ancestors," she said. Her voice was calm, almost musical. "It has been passed down through generations." The etchings glimmered faintly as if recognizing her presence. To the untrained eye, they were mere decoration. But Thryn knew better. These markings were the language of wars long ended, strategies thought lost to time, and victories etched into history itself. A senior trainee, a 4-limbed warrior with emerald scales named Morik, whispered to his companion. "Is that—" His voice trailed, disbelief in every syllable. "Impossible," came the reply. "Those symbols haven't been seen in 1,000 cycles." Thryn took another step closer, circling Kayla as though he were assessing her in 3 dimensions. Every warrior in the academy had some training, some pedigree, but Kayla's presence, her calm aura, and the blade she carried suggested something more, something old, something powerful. "Step into the arena," he said finally. "Let us see if the human can fight as she carries her history." Kayla nodded once, without hesitation. She walked to the center of the arena, her blade glinting under the bright lights. The trainees shifted uneasily. Many of them had never faced a human, and fewer still had faced one carrying such a legendary weapon. Thryn raised his arms. "Begin." The first challenge was simple. A duel with the nearest trainee, a bulky alien with 4 arms and a whip of pure plasma energy. He lunged at her immediately, confident, but Kayla was faster. She sidestepped with uncanny precision, her blade moving in a smooth arc that disarmed him without touching him. Gasps echoed across the arena. The trainee scrambled to regain composure, but Kayla's movements were fluid, precise and instinctive. Every step, every swing, seemed to anticipate her opponent's intent. Morik watched, eyes wide. "How can a human move like that?" he muttered. Thryn did not answer. He only observed, his mind calculating, evaluating, weighing. Kayla was more than fast. She was instinctual. The blade, he realized, was more than a weapon. It was a memory of wars, encoded into steel, guiding her hand. As the duel ended with Kayla's graceful victory, she did not celebrate. She merely stood, her breathing even, her eyes calm. The hall was silent for a long moment. Then a few aliens, unsure but curious, began to whisper. Could a human really carry the spirit of our ancestors? Perhaps not the spirit, another replied, but certainly the skill. Thryn motioned to Kayla. One more demonstration, he said, against me. The hall tensed. None had ever challenged Thryn in this manner, not as a test, not as a show. He was the instructor, the one who could defeat nearly any trainee in seconds. To face him, even for demonstration, was a declaration of confidence. Kayla nodded. She moved to the center again, gripping her blade. Thryn unsheathed his own weapon, a long staff that pulsed with energy. He did not attack immediately. Instead, he circled her, studying, waiting for a single mistake. The first clash was quiet, almost respectful. Kayla moved with her blade in defensive arcs, each strike reflecting strategy, history, and instinct. Thryn pressed, testing her limits, probing her defenses. Then suddenly she lunged. Her blade traced patterns that mirrored legendary battles Thryn had studied but never thought to witness alive. Each strike was precise, measured, as if the weapon itself whispered guidance. Thryn blocked, twisted, dodged, and for the first time in cycles, he felt a pulse of surprise. She was human, yes, but not ordinary. Not in this galaxy. When the duel ended, Thryn lowered his staff. His eyes, all four of them, regarded her with new respect. He nodded once. "Very well," he said. "The Academy will learn of your presence. The blade you carry is no mere relic. It is a testament of history, of wars, and of power." Kayla sheathed her weapon, her expression calm. She did not boast. She did not challenge. She simply existed, a human among beings who had long believed humans weak and unremarkable. In the corridors outside the arena, whispers spread like wildfire. Trainees speculated about her origin, her training, her past. Some feared her, some admired her. But all were certain of one thing. She was different. Thryn returned to his observation post, staring at the human and her blade. The etchings glimmered faintly even when she was out of the arena, as if acknowledging his thoughts. "She carries more than a weapon," he said to himself. "She carries history, and perhaps the future." As night fell over the academy, Kayla rested in the small quarters assigned to her. Outside, the stars stretched across the galaxy in brilliant light. She looked at them silently, tracing constellations she knew by heart. Her ancestors had fought countless wars, guided by principles and instincts now long forgotten. And though she was alone in this new world, she felt a thread connecting her to that history. To battles she had never fought, to victories and losses she had never seen. The blade beside her pulsed faintly, a comforting rhythm. She touched the etchings gently, feeling the stories embedded in the steel. Somewhere, far across the galaxy, echoes of ancient wars seemed to answer. Tomorrow, she would face more challenges. The Academy would test her. The aliens would watch, doubt, perhaps even fear her. But Kayla knew she belonged here, not as a visitor, not as a curiosity, but as a warrior. And with her blade etched with the wisdom of galactic wars, she was ready. The morning light filtered through the high windows of the Interstellar Academy arena, casting long shadows across the polished floor. Kayla stood in the center, her blade resting lightly in her hands. Around her, elite trainees prepared for combat, their forms tense, their weapons ready. Today, they would face her, a human they had been warned not to underestimate. Thryn observed from above, perched on the elevated platform. His 4 eyes followed every movement, every twitch of muscle, every adjustment in stance. Kayla had already shown skill beyond what he had expected, but now she would face full trials, and only then would her true abilities be revealed. "Form teams," Thryn commanded. His voice echoed through the arena, steady and authoritative. "The human will face each team in sequence. Let us see how well she adapts." The first team approached. They were a pair of alien warriors, both larger than Kayla, with armored hides and energy blades crackling in their hands. One had 4 arms, the other 6, each limb moving independently, a storm of motion. The first warrior lunged immediately, swinging with both sets of arms. Kayla shifted slightly, letting the first blows pass by harmlessly. Her blade moved in precise arcs, deflecting attacks with minimal effort. Sparks flew as her metal struck theirs, a clean rhythm forming as she adjusted to each motion. Her movements were unlike any alien combat style. They were fluid, almost instinctive, yet deliberate. It was as if the blade itself guided her, whispering tactics and openings born from wars long past. The 6-armed warrior tried to flank her. Kayla spun, the blade creating a shimmering arc of light that forced him to pause. Then she stepped forward, closing the distance with incredible speed. With a deft twist of her wrist, she tapped each of his weapons in sequence, sending them spinning across the floor without causing harm. The trainees gasped. None had ever seen technique so precise. Not one strike was wasted. Every movement served a purpose. "Human reflexes. Remarkable," Morik muttered to his companion. They leaned against the arena wall, watching, awe in their eyes. Kayla did not speak. She had no need. Her movements spoke for her, narrating battles older than anyone in the room had experienced. Each attack and counter was a story of strategy, of survival, of victory and sacrifice. When the first pair of warriors retreated, acknowledging her superiority, the next team stepped forward. They were smaller, quicker, equipped with energy whips and shields. Kayla adjusted instantly. She moved differently now, lighter, more cautious, her eyes constantly scanning for threats. The whips cracked through the air. Kayla ducked, rolled, and slashed in counter motion. The etchings on her blade glowed faintly, almost as if responding to the motions of the attackers. Each glow marked the identification of an opening, a weak point, a strategy buried in the steel for centuries. Thryn's expression remained calm, but inside, he felt the stirrings of surprise. This human was not just fighting, she was analyzing, adapting, and improvising at a level most warriors never achieved. Suddenly, one of the smaller warriors managed a strike that grazed Kayla's arm. A flash of energy burned across her sleeve. She did not flinch. Instead, she twisted, using the momentum to redirect her opponent's force, sending him tumbling forward. Her blade barely touched his shield, yet the sheer precision of the movement disrupted his balance. The arena watched in silence. Even the younger trainees, who had never faced Kayla personally, felt a shiver of recognition. Humans, they had always believed, were fragile, weak, and predictable. Kayla was none of those things. She was human, yes, but she was also history incarnate, a living connection to wars, strategies, and wisdom thought lost. The final team approached. They were the strongest yet, a combination of brute force and cunning. One carried a plasma hammer, another wielded twin swords with unpredictable motion, and the last had long, whip-like tendrils capable of striking from a distance. Kayla paused for a moment. She assessed the situation, the patterns, the potential openings. Then she smiled faintly, not arrogance, but understanding. She knew how to fight them because in her mind she could see the echo of battles long ago, battles where similar forces had clashed and fallen. The hammer wielder swung first, charging like a comet. Kayla sidestepped and tapped his side lightly, enough to unbalance him. The twin sword fighter lunged simultaneously, but Kayla twisted, her blade flashing in arcs that mirrored strategies of ancient galactic wars. Every strike and parry flowed like water, each movement creating openings that her opponents could not predict. The tentacle warrior struck from behind, attempting to surprise her. Kayla leapt into the air, her blade slicing through the shadow of the tendrils. The tip of her weapon traced a glowing pattern, an ancient war marking meant to disrupt formations. The tentacle snapped harmlessly against the floor, missing its target. It was over in moments. The three warriors, skilled and seasoned, found themselves disarmed, off balance, and exhausted. Kayla stood, breathing evenly, her blade glowing softly. The arena erupted in murmurs. "Unbelievable," whispered one of the trainees. "She's human." "Not just human," Morik replied, voice low. "She is a living strategy. She fights like the battles themselves are guiding her hand." Thryn stepped down from his observation post, moving toward her. He held his staff loosely, not in aggression, but in evaluation. "Human," he said, his voice even but carrying weight. "Your skill is undeniable. But tell me, this blade, these etchings, they are not merely decorative, are they?" Kayla nodded. "They are records," she explained, "of wars fought, victories won, and lessons learned. My ancestors passed them down to guide the next generation of warriors. The blade remembers more than I ever could." Thryn's 4 eyes studied her. He had seen many weapons of power, many instruments of war, but few contained knowledge in such a living form. He realized then that Kayla's advantage was not just in speed or reflex, it was in knowledge and intuition, passed down through centuries of human survival. "Then you carry more than a weapon," he said. "You carry history itself." Kayla's lips curved slightly in acknowledgement. She sheathed her blade with care, the glow dimming as it rested. Around her, the trainees stared, a mixture of awe, respect, and fear in their expressions. "You have proven yourself today," Thryn continued. "But remember, skill alone does not define a warrior. Discipline, strategy, and understanding of others are equally important. You will face many tests here, human. Not all will be as straightforward as today." Kayla inclined her head. "I understand." As she left the arena, a few trainees dared to approach her. How did you learn to fight like that?" one asked. His voice trembled with curiosity. Kayla looked at them, her dark eyes steady. "I did not learn from books or teachers alone. I learned from those who came before me, from history, from wars that shaped civilizations, from the mistakes and victories of my ancestors. And now, I am here to continue their legacy." A hush fell over them. Humans were often underestimated in the galaxy, their presence ignored or dismissed. But Kayla had proven that even the smallest human could hold wisdom and strength beyond imagination. Later, in her quarters, Kayla sat with her blade across her lap. The etchings glimmered faintly, as if pleased with her performance. She traced them with her fingers, feeling the flow of ancient knowledge. Somewhere, in distant parts of the galaxy, the echoes of wars long past seemed to respond, whispering guidance and encouragement. Kayla understood them, not as ghosts, but as teachers. She was not alone. She never had been. Tomorrow, she would face new challenges, stronger opponents, more cunning tactics, and tests designed to push her beyond the limits of human endurance. But Kayla welcomed them. Each trial was not just a test. It was a chance to honor the legacy of her ancestors, to show the galaxy that humans were not weak, and to wield her blade not just as a weapon, but as a symbol of history and hope. As the stars twinkled beyond the Academy's windows, Kayla's eyes reflected the infinite possibilities of the universe. The first day had ended, but her journey was only beginning. And in the quiet hum of the Academy, the soft glow of her blade told a silent promise. Humans were here to be remembered. The sun rose over the interstellar academy, its light spilling across the vast expanse of the training grounds. Though the day seemed ordinary, Kayla felt the weight of what had begun yesterday, the whispers, the gazes, the subtle awe that followed her steps. She had proven herself in combat, but her journey was far from over. After morning exercises, Thryn summoned Kayla to his private chambers. The instructor's quarters were a blend of technology and tradition, walls lined with holobooks, ancient weapons, and holographic displays of historical battles. It was a place where the galaxy's greatest warriors reflected on strategy and history, a perfect stage for truths long hidden. "Sit," Thryn commanded. His voice was calm, measured. Kayla obeyed, placing her blade carefully across her lap. "You fight well," he began, folding his arms. "But the Academy will test more than skill. You will be scrutinized for loyalty, strategy, and your understanding of history. Your blade," he gestured at the glowing etchings, "it carries knowledge most civilizations have forgotten. Why do you possess it?" Kayla met his gaze steadily. "I am a descendant of the Galactic Guardians," she said. "Humans once played a greater role in the galaxy. My ancestors protected worlds, mediated conflicts, and passed down strategies to ensure balance. This blade was their record." Thryn's eyes widened slightly. Few beings had ever acknowledged the existence of the Galactic Guardians. Even the Academy's archives contained only fragments of their history, often dismissed as myth. "You are human," he said slowly. "Yet you carry what even the most learned scholars of the galaxy cannot fully understand. Why now? Why appear here?" Kayla's expression softened. "The galaxy has changed. Threats grow. Alliances shift. My ancestors' legacy was hidden to survive, to prevent its power from being misused. But now humans must step forward. I am here to continue that duty." The instructor studied her carefully. There was no arrogance in her voice, only conviction, and in her calm demeanor he saw something rare, wisdom beyond her years and courage beyond her species. "Very well," he said finally. "You will face a new kind of test today. Not only in combat, but in observation and strategy. You must navigate situations that require both intellect and diplomacy. The Academy will be watching, and some will not welcome your presence." Kayla nodded. She had anticipated as much. She knew that skill alone could not secure acceptance. She would need to prove her worth through understanding, reasoning, and leadership. The first challenge was unusual. A holographic simulation activated in the arena, depicting a colony under siege by a rogue alien faction. The simulation was detailed, realistic, with civilians, energy barriers, and unpredictable attackers. The goal was simple in words: defend the colony, minimize casualties, and neutralize threats. The execution, however, required a balance of strategy, speed, and resourcefulness. Kayla studied the simulation carefully. Unlike the other trainees, she did not charge immediately. She assessed the layout, considered the possible movements of the enemy, and planned a sequence that used both offense and defense in tandem. The first wave of attackers surged forward. Kayla moved like a conductor, her blade striking with precision, guiding the holographic defenders as she anticipated the enemy's tactics. She placed barriers, redirected forces, and used timing to disorient the attackers. It was more than combat. It was a lesson in leadership, in understanding how every action rippled through the battlefield. Her blade glimmered faintly as she moved, almost as if it recognized the patterns of strategy being enacted, responding with subtle guidance. Several trainees tried to follow her example. But Kayla's understanding of the simulation went beyond observation. She incorporated the lessons of the past, strategies etched into her blade from forgotten wars, turning theory into practice. At the end of the simulation, the colony was secure, casualties minimal, and the enemy completely neutralized. The observers murmured, astonished. Few had ever completed the exercise with such efficiency. Morik, watching from the edge of the arena, shook his head in disbelief. She's not just skilled. She's rewriting how we understand strategy. Thryn stepped forward, his expression unreadable. Impressive, he said simply. But now you will face something more personal. Kayla looked up, alert. Thryn gestured to a side room, where a series of containment fields held ancient relics, artifacts from wars, diplomacy, and exploration. Each one held a fragment of human and alien history, carefully preserved for study. You will be tested on knowledge, Thryn explained. Not just your own, but the history of those who came before you. And some of these beings will challenge you, subtly. They may question your claims, doubt your skill, or even attempt to provoke you. You must remain composed and respond with reason. Kayla nodded. She had anticipated scrutiny. In her history, humans had faced doubt and underestimation repeatedly, and she had learned that patience and clarity were often stronger than brute force. The first challenge was straightforward but intimidating. A group of alien scholars questioned her about the Galactic Guardians. They asked for details of battles, strategies, and alliances, probing for inconsistencies. Kayla responded calmly, drawing from her memory, the knowledge etched in her blade, and the lessons passed down by her ancestors. Some of the scholars pressed further, attempting to catch her off guard. Others tried to argue, claiming humans could not have influenced galactic affairs at such a scale. Kayla answered each calmly, citing examples, providing context, and demonstrating her understanding of both human and alien histories. By the end of the questioning, even the most skeptical of scholars had been convinced. Kayla had not only defended her knowledge, but had taught a few lessons themselves. Thryn watched quietly, impressed. He realized that Kayla's advantage was not simply in combat or strategy, but in her ability to connect history with action, theory with reality. She carried not only skill, but understanding, a rare combination that often determined the fate of wars. Later, Kayla returned to the arena. Another trial awaited her, this one physical. She was to face multiple opponents simultaneously, testing her adaptability and speed. But unlike previous trials, this one involved unpredictable elements, shifting terrain, energy traps, and holographic civilians that required protection. Kayla moved confidently, integrating her strategy seamlessly into action. She guided allies, avoided hazards, and struck with precision when necessary. The simulation seemed to respond to her intuition, as if the blade and her mind worked in perfect synchrony. Thryn's eyes followed her every motion. The combination of instinct, knowledge, and adaptability was remarkable. He had trained countless warriors, but Kayla reminded him that humans, though underestimated, could surpass expectation when history and instinct aligned. As the trial concluded, the other trainees approached her, some in admiration, others in cautious curiosity. How do you do it?" one asked. "Your blade, your moves, it's like you see the future." Kayla smiled faintly. "Not the future," she replied. "The past teaches us what could happen. We learn from history, from victories and mistakes. My blade carries those lessons, and I carry them in my mind. That is all." Her explanation was simple, yet profound. It was not arrogance, not magic, nor luck. It was understanding, patience, and respect for the knowledge that had come before her. Morek approached, his expression thoughtful. "I underestimated humans," he admitted quietly. "I thought they were small, weak, and insignificant, but you are different." Kayla's eyes met his. "We are not different in nature," she said softly. "We are different in perspective. History has taught us resilience, and the galaxy has given us experience. That is why we survive, and why we fight differently." By evening, Kayla returned to her quarters, exhausted but calm. The day had tested her in ways she had not anticipated: combat, strategy, diplomacy, and patience. Each challenge revealed more about herself, about the galaxy, and about the legacy she carried. She looked at her blade, the etchings glowing faintly in the dim light. They were no longer just symbols of past wars. They were guides for the present, reminders of duty and inspiration for the future. Somewhere, beyond the stars, echoes of ancient battles seemed to respond, acknowledging her efforts. Kayla felt a sense of connection stronger than before, not only to her ancestors but to the galaxy itself. Thryn entered quietly, observing her. "You have done well today," he said. "But remember, Kayla, not all will welcome your presence. Some will fear it, some will challenge it, and in time, you may face more than simulations. You may face real threats that seek what you carry." Kayla nodded. "I am ready," she said. Her voice was calm, unwavering. "I have faced doubt and danger before, and I will face it again. The blade guides me, and I carry the lessons of those who came before." Thryn's expression softened slightly. For the first time, he allowed himself a faint smile. "Very well. The Academy will watch closely. And perhaps they will learn something from you as well." As night fell over the Academy, Kayla gazed out at the galaxy through her window. Stars stretched infinitely across the sky, and distant planets glimmered with life. She felt the presence of her ancestors in that light, their wisdom and courage guiding her path. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but Kayla was no longer merely a visitor in this place. She was a participant, a teacher, and a warrior carrying the weight and hope of human history. And as the stars shone, her blade rested beside her, glowing softly, a promise of legacy, strength, and the adventures yet to come. The Academy had never been so quiet. The usual hum of training devices, the clatter of weapons, and the chatter of trainees had vanished. Every instructor, every trainee, sensed the same warning. Something was coming. Kayla walked through the corridors, her blade at her side. She had sensed it before any alarms had gone off, a ripple in the energy shields, a distant vibration through the station. Her instincts, honed by generations of warriors, told her that danger approached. Thryn met her at the entrance to the main hall, his expression grim. "A rogue faction has breached the outer defenses," he said. "They seek the secrets carried within the Academy, and perhaps they seek you specifically." Kayla nodded. "Then we must defend it. The Academy and its people are more than the secrets they hold. I will protect them." Outside, the station trembled as enemy ships appeared. Unlike the simulations she had faced, this threat was real. The rogue aliens descended swiftly, their craft moving with precision, aiming directly for the Academy's central hub. "Form your teams," Thryn commanded. "Everyone who can fight will defend. Kayla, you will lead one squad. Protect civilians first, then neutralize attackers." Kayla took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. She moved quickly, coordinating trainees and instructors, assigning positions, and planning defensive measures. Her voice was calm, her commands clear. "Reinforce the shields on the east corridor. Escort civilians to the safe zones. Cover each other, and remember, our goal is protection, not recklessness." The first wave of attackers arrived. Energy beams lit the hallways, colliding with shields in sparks of blue and green light. Trainees leaped, ducked, and countered, but the enemy moved with an intelligence that suggested planning and experience. Kayla's blade gleamed as she stepped forward. Unlike the other warriors, she did not rely solely on strength. Her strikes were precise, deflecting attacks while guiding allies, anticipating the enemy's moves before they acted. One of the rogue attackers, a massive being with 4 arms and serrated claws, lunged at a squad member. Kayla intercepted, spinning into the motion. Her blade slashed in a controlled arc, striking the attacker's weapon, sending him off balance without injuring him unnecessarily. Then she moved to protect the trainee, guiding him to safety as her blade glowed faintly, illuminating the path through the chaos. Every move she made inspired those around her. Trainees who had doubted humans now followed her lead without hesitation. Her confidence was infectious, her strategy clear. As the battle escalated, Kayla noticed a group attempting to breach the central archive, the heart of the Academy's knowledge. Without hesitation, she sprinted toward them, her blade flashing like lightning. The enemy's leader, a shadowy figure cloaked in energy armor, confronted her. His strikes were fast, powerful, and unpredictable. Kayla met them all with precision, her movements a dance of history and instinct. The blade etched with galactic wars guided her, each motion a lesson from battles fought long ago. She twisted, dodged, and countered, disarming her opponent without killing him. He fell back, stunned, while she used the moment to secure the archive. Holographic barriers rose, and civilians sheltered safely inside. Elsewhere, Thryn coordinated defenses, impressed by Kayla's leadership. "Her instincts are unmatched," he muttered. "The Academy may have trained hundreds, but none have led with such clarity under pressure." The rogue faction regrouped, bringing reinforcements. Kayla adjusted immediately. She directed one squad to flank the attackers while leading another to reinforce key positions. Every action was calculated, every movement deliberate. One of the attackers tried a surprise strike from above, but Kayla anticipated it. She leapt into the air, her blade slicing through the incoming energy spear, redirecting it harmlessly. Then she landed behind a squad member, ready to counter another threat. Minutes stretched, yet Kayla did not falter. Her focus remained unbroken, her mind clear. She did not fight for glory or recognition. She fought for her allies, for the Academy, and for the lessons of her ancestors carried within her blade. Finally, the rogue faction's momentum slowed. Kayla had anticipated their strategies, countered their attacks, and inspired the trainees to coordinate with her seamlessly. The enemies faltered, their formations breaking under the precision of human-led tactics. Thryn observed quietly, admiration growing. This was more than skill. This was leadership, vision, and courage. The human had shown what he had suspected all along. Humans were underestimated, and yet they could surpass expectation when guided by instinct, history, and resolve. Kayla pressed the advantage, leading a counterattack that forced the rogue faction to retreat. Their ships disengaged, leaving the Academy intact, the civilians safe, and the trainees energized by their leader's example. When the battle ended, silence filled the halls. No cheers erupted. The gravity of what had just occurred hung in the air. Kayla sheathed her blade, its glow dimming. She surveyed the damage, the shaken but unbroken faces of her allies, and allowed herself a small, satisfied nod. Thryn approached her, his 6 arms folded. "You have done more than I expected," he said. "You led, protected, and adapted. You fought not only with skill, but with the wisdom of those who came before. You have proven that humans are not only capable, but indispensable." Kayla looked at him, her expression calm. "I did what I had to. The Academy is a place for learning, not destruction. The blade reminds me of that. Every strike is guided not by anger, but by purpose." Morik and other trainees gathered around, their earlier skepticism replaced by respect. I doubted you, Morik admitted quietly. But you have shown us that humans carry more than strength. They carry understanding, and perhaps a courage we have not yet seen in our kind. Kayla smiled faintly. Courage is not born from size or strength, she said. It is born from responsibility, from knowledge, and from the willingness to act when others cannot. Thryn's eyes, all four of them, lingered on Kayla. Today was a trial of loyalty, he said. Not just loyalty to your allies, but to your principles. Many warriors could fight well, but few lead with both heart and mind. You have shown both. As the Academy began to recover from the attack, Kayla walked through the corridors, checking on her squad, assisting those in need, and offering guidance where necessary. Her leadership extended beyond combat. She had shown that humans, though often underestimated, could inspire unity, resilience, and hope. Later, in her quarters, Kayla sat quietly with her blade across her lap. The etchings glimmered softly in the dim light. She traced them with her fingers, feeling the echo of lessons learned and victories won. The day had been a trial unlike any other, but it had also been a moment of connection, between past and present, between human and alien, between individual and community. Somewhere beyond the stars, Kayla sensed the silent acknowledgement of her ancestors. The battles fought long ago, the strategies etched into the blade, the courage passed down through generations, they had all guided her today. And they would guide her again, in challenges yet to come. Thryn entered her quarters quietly. "You have done more than defend the Academy," he said. "You have changed the way many see humans. You are not just a warrior. You are a leader, a symbol of what humans can achieve." Kayla looked up, meeting his gaze. "I do not seek recognition," she said. "I seek to honor the legacy of those who came before me and to protect those who cannot protect themselves. That is all." Thryn nodded. "And yet, sometimes the galaxy will recognize greatness whether you seek it or not." The night deepened, and Kayla stared out at the stars. She knew that this victory was only the beginning. Other challenges would come, more dangerous and complex than simulations or rogue attacks. Yet she felt a quiet confidence. She was not alone. Her blade, her instincts, and the lessons of her ancestors would guide her. And for the first time, she understood the true scope of her responsibility, not just as a human, but as a galactic guardian in the making. The Academy had tested her skill, her strategy, and her loyalty. She had passed them all. But Kayla knew that the real tests were not behind her. They were ahead, waiting in the vast, unpredictable expanse of the galaxy. And as the stars shimmered beyond the windows, her blade glowed softly, a silent promise. Humans had a place in the galaxy, and she would prove it, one battle at a time. The Academy was alive with a rare energy the morning after the attack. Trainees moved with purpose, instructors coordinated drills, and the hum of machines blended with the chatter of strategists. The recent battle had left marks, scorched floors, damaged training modules, and exhausted warriors, but it had also inspired a renewed sense of unity. Kayla walked through the corridors, her blade at her side. Unlike yesterday, today she was not only a participant, she was a symbol. Her calm confidence, precise actions, and leadership had left an impression that would not fade. Many trainees glanced at her with respect, some with awe, and even a few with quiet envy. But Kayla did not seek attention. She sought only to continue her mission, to honor her ancestors and protect the Academy. Thryn approached her in the central hall. His expression was serious, but held a subtle warmth. "Kayla," he began, "your performance during the attack, it has changed the way the Academy views humans, not just as warriors, but as leaders, strategists, and protectors." Kayla nodded. I am only carrying forward what my ancestors began. They taught us to fight, to learn, and to protect. I am their voice now, and I intend to honor that duty. Thryn studied her for a moment. Then, he gestured toward the raised platform in the center of the hall. Today, you will be formally recognized as the first human Galactic Guardian apprentice in generations. Step forward. The hall fell silent as Kyla moved to the platform. Trainees and instructors alike watched her closely, their eyes reflecting a mixture of curiosity, admiration, and respect. Even Morik, who had been skeptical, stood quietly, his gaze fixed on her. Thryn held out his staff, and the Academy's ancient records activated in a soft, holographic glow. Images of past galactic guardians, humans and aliens alike, flickered in the light. For centuries, the legacy of the Galactic Guardians has protected the galaxy from chaos. Today, a human will officially carry that legacy forward. Kayla, do you accept this responsibility? Kayla's grip on her blade tightened slightly, the etchings glowing faintly in response. I do, she said firmly. I accept it, with honor and with purpose. A soft murmur of approval rose from the hall. Trainees stepped forward, offering bows or gestures of respect. Aliens who had doubted her skills now acknowledged her leadership. Kayla's presence had become a bridge, a reminder that humans, once underestimated, had a role to play in the galaxy's future. Thryn continued, his voice echoing through the hall. This recognition is not only for your skill in combat, but for your wisdom, your courage, and your ability to inspire others. The blade you carry is more than a weapon. It is a record of history, a guide for the present, and a beacon for the future. Use it wisely, and continue to teach others what it has taught you. Kayla bowed slightly, feeling the weight of the moment. She was not seeking glory, but she understood the significance. Her ancestors had entrusted her with this legacy for a reason. She would not fail. After the ceremony, Kayla returned to her quarters. The events of the past days, the training, the combat trials, and the attack had tested her in ways she had never imagined. She placed her blade carefully across her lap and traced the etchings. Each symbol told a story, battles fought, strategies employed, and lessons learned. For a long moment, she simply sat in silence, listening to the faint hum of the Academy. The city of knowledge, of warriors, and of countless stories stretched around her, and she realized that she was no longer just a participant. She was a teacher, a guardian, and a symbol of what humans could achieve when history, skill, and courage aligned. Later, she walked the Academy's training grounds. Trainees approached her with questions, seeking guidance on strategy, tactics, or simply curiosity about her blade. Kayla answered patiently, demonstrating movements, explaining patterns, and sharing lessons from the battles etched into her weapon. A small group of trainees gathered around Morik, who looked on with quiet respect. She moves, like she has lived through centuries of war, he said softly. But it is more than that. She teaches without arrogance, leads without fear, and inspires without force. Humans. I see now that they are not to be underestimated. Kayla overheard the comment and smiled faintly. History is a teacher for all who listen, she said softly. And courage comes from knowing what is right, not from strength alone. Even Thryn seemed impressed. He observed her as she guided the trainees, noting how her calm presence and thoughtful instructions created confidence and trust. It was clear that Kayla was not only a warrior, but a leader in the truest sense. As night fell over the Academy, Kayla returned to her quarters. The stars stretched infinitely beyond the windows, and the glow of distant planets cast soft light into the room. She gazed at the galaxy, feeling both small and immense at once. Somewhere far away, humans still existed, scattered and unrecognized, yet quietly surviving, learning, and growing. Kayla knew that her actions would inspire them, just as her ancestors had inspired her. She was a bridge between the past and the future, between humans and the wider galaxy. Her blade rested on her lap, its etchings faintly glowing as if acknowledging her thoughts. Each line told a story, and each story held guidance for the future. Kayla felt a sense of calm determination. The galaxy was vast, and dangers would always arise, but with her knowledge, her instincts, and the legacy of her ancestors, she was ready. The next morning, the academy resumed its usual rhythm. Trainees trained, instructors guided, and the hum of the station filled the air once more. But Kayla moved among them with a new purpose. She taught not just skill, but understanding, not just tactics, but leadership. She showed that humans, though often underestimated, could rise to greatness and inspire those around them. Morik approached her again, this time with a small, respectful bow. "Kayla," he said, "I see now that humans carry potential beyond what we imagined. You have not only fought but guided and taught. We are fortunate to have you here." Kayla nodded. "We are all students of history," she said, "and we all have a role in shaping the future. My place is here, but it is also with anyone willing to learn from the past." Thrin observed the exchange, a subtle smile on his face. For centuries, the Academy had trained warriors from countless species, but Kayla reminded him of something fundamental. Adaptability, intelligence, courage, and wisdom were not limited by species. Humans had survived, thrived, and influenced history not through size or strength, but through their ability to learn, adapt, and inspire. The day passed quietly, but Kayla felt a sense of accomplishment. She had faced challenges, led during crises, and earned the trust and respect of the Academy. Yet she knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and threats were never far away. New challenges would arise, demanding courage, wisdom, and leadership. As evening fell, Kayla stood at the Academy's observation deck, looking out at the stars. Each constellation seemed to shimmer with possibility, each planet holding stories yet untold. She knew that humans had a role in the galaxy far greater than most believed. And she would continue to prove it, not for recognition, but for the legacy she carried and the future she hoped to protect. Her blade rested lightly in her hands, the etchings faintly glowing. It had guided her through trials, inspired others, and preserved the lessons of history, and it would continue to guide her in the days, years, and adventures ahead. Kayla allowed herself a small smile. The Academy, once a place of doubt and curiosity, had become a place of opportunity, learning, and unity. Humans, she realized, were no longer just observers in the galaxy. They were participants, leaders, and protectors. And as she gazed at the stars, Kayla made a quiet promise to herself and to her ancestors. She would honor the legacy she carried, protect those who could not protect themselves, and ensure that humans would never again be underestimated. Somewhere, far across the galaxy, whispers of ancient human enclaves awaited their moment. The lessons Kayla carried, the strength she displayed, and the legacy she rekindled were only the beginning. Humans would rise again, not in secrecy, but in full recognition of their place among the stars. And with her blade glowing softly at her side, Kayla turned from the observation deck, ready for whatever challenges the galaxy would present. Because she was not just a warrior, she was a galactic guardian in the making, a beacon of human potential, and a living proof that courage, wisdom, and history could shape the fate of the stars.